All praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rucha Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, Everett Millstone, that taught us to be uphold truth and rule well, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. I wanted to go into the concept of the straight gate that the men of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, the followers of Hamashiach, are to embark upon, right? The straight gate, which is the narrow path, okay? Which goes, of course, we know, into a position of difficulty, but we were expounding on it at camp this past week, that it also goes into limiting the freedom that you have, all right? It's likened into restraints. Okay, that's why they call it a straight jacket, right? You put that on and it limits your arms from moving, okay? And that's the spirit, because they do that to people who are mad, who are stricken with madness and, you know, fucking insane in the brain. That, and we know, you know, give me any plague but the plague of the mind. Some people who are so fucking insane in their minds, they'll hurt themselves, okay? They'll cut themselves with a razor on their arms. They'll hit themselves in the head, okay? And let alone what they can do to other people, okay? So they have them in that fucking straitjacket, and it limits their motion. What they can do, it locks them up. And that's what this truth is likened into in some respects. And that's a beautiful fucking thing, man. All right, that we are to be in a straitjacket, in straits, to prevent the freedom of motion, just to do whatever we want. Because look, the flesh is extremely fucking weak, okay? And it wants to do bullshit and wickedness, right? The propensity of this flesh is to perform fucking wickedness, to transgress the law. Okay, so when we're in this metaphorical straitjacket, when we're in straits, okay, in the straight gate, we're not to just do whatever the fuck you want, what your pleasures compel you to do, okay? What your pleasures dictate. We were going to that in reference to, you know, these fucking sluts out here. Yeah, of course, a man, it's like an animal response a man has when he gazes upon a woman, you know. He just wants to pretty much fuck everything moving that looks halfway decent, you know. Let's be fucking honest. But we were speaking about that in reference to that, and how even not only do you not do that, especially because a woman could be married and all these other things, but even if a woman is unmarried and is so-called fair game, you know, how it's not exhibiting and exercising wisdom to just try to fucking to pop anything that's fair game, okay? Because this truth is about curbing your passions, and that's likened it to chains. It's likened unto bonds. It's likened unto the straight gate, okay? It's heavy, because when you go into that in Matthew 7:14, the word straight, it's stenos. It goes into being in brackets, okay? And when you look at, for example, a fucking bowling lane, when you bowling, when you toss that, when those brackets are up and you toss that fucking bowling ball down the lane, the brackets prevent the ball from dropping in the fucking gutter, okay? So it keeps you pure. It keeps you on, above board. It keeps you alive, because in this metaphor, the gutter is likened to you fucking dying. And that's what this is, right? There's water and fucking fire on either side of falling off of that tightrope, okay? So that's what this truth is really about, okay? Curbing your passions, it's referenced that throughout these scriptures, right? Bridling your lusts. And that's what it is crucial to to achieving this crown, okay, to righteousness, man. Okay, that is vital to righteousness. It's expressed heavily within the principles and tenets of Stoicism, man. Okay, to live a life not run by your fucking carnal pleasures, you see, and to deny those things. Another term for it is asceticism. Okay, denying your fucking fleshly wants and desires, man. Okay, temptations and all this shit. One of the crucial quotes from Marcus Aurelius, you know, a premier stoic, is fucking comfort is the worst addiction. Okay, and you could see that. What do they call it? Comfort foods. Comfort, like Apostle Rakal goes into, you know, all boxes is, you know, that warm hole. That's likened into comfort, and all the other things that it entails within comfort, right? Not working out, that's comfortable. It's uncomfortable fucking, you know, shredding up your muscles. Okay, that's why people in the majority don't fucking do it. All right, and everything else of the uncomfortabilities of leading this life, man. Okay. So we're gonna go into this in Sirach, the 6th chapter, where it speaks about this, about how this truth, you know, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and going on this path is likened unto you being in chains. Okay. And that's what it is. What is the, how should I say? We're going to get that too. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. So you still have to be within these chains, man. Okay, within this straitjacket, these restraints. Okay, to prevent you from doing some fuck shit. Okay, and it's a good thing. Like we said, like I just said, it leads to being holy, right? Which means to be separate from the wickedness of this world, and from the wickedness of your flesh, the propensity to transgress and all this other shit. Okay. It leads to piety, which is to be pious, which means piety is a filial duty. Filial going back to the duty to your parents, and who's our primary parent? It really goes back to duty to the Most High, filial duty, piety. Okay, doing what is pure in the sight of the Heavenly Father. It leads to purity, okay, which ultimately leads to governing the next world, which is going to be eternal. Nothing compares to just hold off right now on these passions, as it references in the scriptures, to curb that fucking shit. Okay. That's why in Stoicism it talks about often, that's the whole fucking foundation of it, you know, not just to do whatever is comfortable and whatever your flesh wants, man. Okay. This is Sirach 6:18. It says, "My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. Come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth, and wait for her good fruits. For thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon." That's fucking beautiful, because in Galatians 6 and 8 in the NLT, we brought that out too. You know, if you plant in the field of your natural desires, from it you will reap the harvest of death. So, on the contrary, if you plant and sow in the field of righteousness, okay, of curbing those passions, you're going to reap straight up glory from the Heavenly Father. And it expounds on that in that verse in the NLT. It's lucky in the GNT. Just hit it for edification's sake. If you plant in the field of your natural desires, from it you will gather the harvest of death. If you plant in the field of the Spirit, from the Spirit you will gather the harvest of eternal life. My God. Okay? So nothing compares to this, man. And that's the thing that this society teaches you not to do. It teaches you to you know, give in to those desires. What do they say? There's all these different terms. Feed the beast, right? Quench your thirst. See, and it's all spiritual connotations. Okay, it's all symbolic for, you know, do whatever. Was it have it your way? All these different things, you know. There's several that we used to coin, that we used to reference these different slogans and phrases that just says, you know, just do whatever, do as thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Do what you fucking want to do. That's what this society fucking teaches you. And especially the fucking nigga, spick, and tonto, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, which are the, you know, the current day known demographics of the ancient biblical Israelites. Okay, and they do that to keep us destroyed, right? So that the so-called white man who's got the world in his hand, he puts out all this social engineering for those people to keep them fucking destroyed. Okay. So let's go back into this Sirach 6 and 8 and 19, right? It says, starting, this is read that over. Come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth and waiteth for good fruits. For thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon. She is very unpleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain with her. She will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial, and he will cast her from and he will cast her from him ere it be long. For wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest unto many. Give ears, my son, receive my advice, and refuse not my counsel. And here's the point in 24 and in 29, but we're going to read down. It says, and put thy feet into her fetters, and thy neck into her chain. You see? So this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, this truth is likened into being chained up, man. Fetters are fucking bombs. Okay? That's why it said, right, his yoke, right, the straight jacket we're talking about, man. All right. Yes, you're refrained from doing whatever the fuck you want to do, and really, that's just saying it facetiously. You're refrained from doing most of the shit that this world has to offer, okay? And it builds character, man, okay? And it makes you a fucking man. The brother Yarmaya that they call Murph from Chi-Town goes into that about how, you know, having a bunch of money makes you a bitch. Okay, having a bunch of means and access to shit makes you a bitch. Okay, because you don't have to, you know, you don't have to use any self-control. You know, you have everything at your disposal. Okay. But when you're broke, like he said, being broke makes you a fucking man. Okay, you have to strive and thrive. You know, without the means. And then what is it also when you have fucking money? You're given unto luxuries and dainties. Okay, which makes you weak. Okay. A lot of times when people get money, you know, they get fucking fat. Right? Well, look at your boy Al-Azhar, and we hate to keep bringing this motherfucker up, but he's a perfect example. You know, he got fucking pudgy when he started to get that bag from when Sakardi started to get it established. Okay, and then he got caught eating fucking Taco Bell and fucking Pepsi and all this other shit. You know, most of the things that are, and really, you have demons on you when you have that type of taste for that type of food. You know, most of the things that taste good like that are not fucking good for you, man. Alright? But when you go into that word austere, this is also likened to this life that we have to this lead and this path that we have to go on of austerity. Okay, it's one of harshness, and austerity is heavy in the etymology. You know, it goes into being without luxuries. Okay, unadorned. Let's go into the austerity, right? Sternness or strictness. See? Sternness or severity of manner, of attitude to this is a severe path. Okay. Extreme plainness and simplicity of style or appearance, and also lifestyle. Okay. Fucking A, there you go. Man, the water Yahweh Shem Shai, conditions characterized by severity, sternness, or asceticism. And we just fucking went into asceticism, right? Severe discipline and avoidance of all form of indulgence, typically for religious reasons. You see? The practice of strict self-denial. That's the other term in the scriptures, to deny yourself, man, as a measure of personal and especially spiritual discipline. The conditioned practice or mode of life of an ascetic. There you fucking go, man. Okay. This is what's profitable. If you can see this leads to the governing of the next fucking universe, man. It doesn't just stop here at Earth. Of the next universe, this is never gonna end. That rulership is never gonna fucking end. And that's par for the course too. Somebody that can conduct himself in this manner, shouldn't he be the ruler of the eternal world? Okay, of course, join heirs with Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. Let's get this in the etymology to show you, right? Without luxuries, unadorned. It says unadorned, simple in style, without luxuries. Okay? And that's what you see these niggas when they have money. They're actually given unto all that shit. And fuck all that shit. It makes you a fucking bitch. But this truth really makes you a man. Being on this path. So let's go back into that. Sirach 6:24. And put thy feet into her fetters, and thy neck into her chain. Bow down thy shoulder and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds. Fucking A, that tells you right there, her bonds, man. Okay. We're in slavery to this, and we're going to expound on that too. Come unto her with thy whole heart, and keep her ways with all thy power. Okay? Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee. And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go. For at the last thou shalt find her rest, and that shall be turned to thy joy. I mean, you almost don't even have to expound on what's promised to the men, to, the ones that go through this suffering with for Yahweh Shem Shai on this side. Okay, what does it talk about? The present sufferings cannot be compared to what is prepared for these men, man. Okay, unspeakable joy out of this fucking world, man. All right. So it says, then shall her fetters, finishing it off. Well, fuck it. It actually goes on. Whew, to that 31 will stop. Then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee, and her chains a robe of glory. So you see what this ball and chain, this truth is likened to that ball and chain, but look, it's going to be, it's a strong defense, and it's going to translate into a robe of glory, man. Chainmail. Fucking, and chainmail's heavy as a motherfucker, bro, to carry that weight, that extra weight around. All right. But this is all an analogy for it keeping you fucking, from doing wickedness, okay, which our fleshly desires are prone unto. It says, for there is a golden ornament upon her. Like, for example, one other thing is like, your flesh really oftentimes wants to put hands on these fucking people. Oftentimes. That's why niggas, they just, they always have to do bids in the system because, get fucking locked up because they give in to that weakness of the flesh. All right, stab a nigga, fucking bat for battery, put hands on a nigga, use different weapons and blunt force objects, fucking, and not to mention firearm. You see, but we have to curb all that shit. Look, it says. For there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. See, so look, it's speaking about this wisdom and knowledge and understanding, likened unto fetters, okay, likened unto chains, okay, likened unto bonds and bands, okay. All these things are likened unto you being locked up in restraints. It's to restrain you from doing the things that your flesh wants to fucking do, man. And check it. Let's look and see what fetters in the Google images. There you go. A ball and fucking chain, man. See? Straight jacket, man. To keep you from performing wickedness, man. So let's finish it off in that 31st verse. It says, thou shalt put her on as a robe of honor, and shalt put her about thee as a crown of joy. So this leads into that crown, man, to be rulers in joint heir. Is that a word, heirship? No, it would be just joint rulership. Slakia, joint rulership with Yahushua and Mashiach, man. Alright, let's finish it off. Let's see where we had this pulled up at. Let's go into that straight real quick, because we went into it. It's like brackets to keep you on the straight and narrow. Okay, we have to hit that Matthew 11 and 30. But let's hit this to show you, just demonstrate it, so you get the visual, the straight gate, right? Stenos. See how it's pronounced? Stenos or Stenos? Stenos. It is Strong's G 4728. It says brackets. See, highlighted there. Brackets, man, to keep you on the path. It's to straighten you out, right? Not only that word S-T-R-A-I-T, but to keep you straight, S-T-R-A-I-G-T. And it's heavy because they used to make fun of that in the world. They're like, oh, that motherfucker is straight edge, meaning he doesn't do drugs, he doesn't fucking rob niggas, he doesn't do fucking nigga shit. And they call him a straight edge and shit, See, but that's actually a compliment. Let's go back into this 11 and 30, because it's got a heavy connotation. Matthew 11 at the bottom, right? Says, for my yoke, see, my yoke is easier, my burden is light, right? Let's see what it says. Take my yoke, Matthew 11 and 29. Take my yoke. Let's start at 28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, For I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You see, when you really go into it, all those desires of the flesh and what it brings you, all the fuckery that translates to, is really a lot harder than being on this path. It seems like, man, that motherfucker must be miserable. He eats shit that's not tasty. You know, that alone is gonna fucking would devastate a nigga or anybody, the people of this world. You know, we eat a very fucking strict diet. Okay. You know, he doesn't fucking do drugs. You know, he barely, if at all, drinks. You know, and even that's okay, but you have to be balanced with that too, right? It's permissible to drink, but you're even balanced with that too. You know, he doesn't he doesn't do what we know, all the fuck shit fornication, which is really, it's an umbrella. Fornication is an umbrella for any illicit sexual acts. You know, oh, he can't do that, you know, right? He doesn't engage in all these fleshly pleasures. Okay. Doesn't what do these niggas do? They go to the club, right? Constantly at the clubs and bars and all this other shit, festivals, concerts, fucking, you know, all kind of shit, vacationing and all this other shit, man. There's a lot that this world has for you in wickedness to do. All right, so let's go into this yoke, because ultimately it is easier. It's easier to do this because look, what does all that shit get you? It gets you dead or in jail, and it gets you sick. Okay, it can get you, for example, scamming on another nigga's wife. Get your ass, you know, fucked up and up to death, right? So a lot of these things is either trade-off is fuckery. So that's why this is, you know, it's more profitable, man. Period. This is that word yoke. This is that word yoke in Matthew 11 and 30. Zugas, Strong's G2218, and it says, used of any burden or bondage as that of slavery. Okay, there you go. It says, of troublesome laws imposed on one, especially of the Mosaic law. Hence the name is transferred to the commands of Hamashiach as to contrast them to the commands of the Pharisees, which were a veritable yoke. Yet even Hamashiach's commands must be submitted to, though easier to be kept. Okay, and you know how we went into that word straight goes into brackets. Right here it says a balance. Okay, this thing fucking balances you out. All right, let's hit this in the Thayer's Greek lexicon, the extra layers in the Thayer's. It says a balance, a pair of scales. And it's heavy. Here it is. It says, oh, we just went into that, right? Of Hamashiach's commands. Yep, Hamashiach's commands must be submitted to. So it's likened into slavery, right? See, this path, the principles must be adhered to, but look what they are. They're easier to be kept. Okay? Not only in reference as it pertains to, like it said, the Mosaic law, but even of what this life tells you to do as thou wilt and all that shit. It leads to fucking destruction, man. And there's a lot of adverse residual effects that it has. Okay? Ways to get you fucked off. And let's get this burden. Fortion in the Greek, Strong's G 5413. Okay. And it goes into the same thing, right? The obligations of Hamashiach lays upon his followers. Okay? Pretty much the same thing as yoke, but let's sew it all up right here in James 1 in the NLT. Okay? Because you have to be compliant into these principles, man, into these tenets. It says in James 1 and 1, it says, this letter is from James, a slave of the Most High and of Yahushua, and of the Lord Yahushai Hamashiach. Okay? So we're a slave to this. The Chi-Town elder Yaki mentioned this. I believe it was like in the late February, one of their camps on the line. He mentioned you got to be a slave to somebody. Okay, you got to be a slave to somebody. And look, it's much easier, just as we read, its yoke is easy and its burden is light, to be a slave for Hamashiach than a slave of the world. Okay, you know, these people, to be a slave of the world is to be a slave to your own fucking desires, a slave to your flesh. That is a miserable fucking existence, man. When you have to tap on this such and such a substance, you have to pop this pill. You know, you're a slave to the bottle. You're a slave to. You have a fuck demon on you. You know, all these different things. A money demon. You constantly have to chase that fucking that revenue. Okay. So it's much more profitable to be a slave for Mashiach, and the riches that are going to be bestowed upon them that go down this path is fucking incomparable to this this bullshit, man. Okay, this straight up dung that this is. That's why it even says, Paul, you know, he said, we count all this shit fucking dung. Okay, to be a slave of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and to give up this whole fucking life and all that pertains to it for this purpose. Okay, and let that be encouragement, man. None of this shit fucking matters. No box that you have to pass up, no bag you have to pass up on, you know, no experience, because people, you know, they want to have those experiences here. Fuck all of that shit. Oh, I'm young, I didn't get to experience life and all that. Fuck all of that goddamn shit, man. Count it as dung, okay, to receive this crown. So with that, all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Racha Kadash, man. We truly are eternally indebted to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai for bestowing this truth upon us, bestowing this burden, this beautiful burden. All right, Shalom.